Yeah, man. Up for day there, massive heart of love. Hope you full enjoying your day. You already know I'm full enjoying mine because I have life. Yeah, man. So, the Rastapreneur here with episode number one of what we're going to call five things to consider, some business, branding, and marketing tips with the Rastapreneur. So, ones that know me know I've been on this Rastapreneur journey of mine for over 2 decades. But now it's become more prevalent to become, own your own business basically. So some people that know that I've been doing it for a while have questions for me. And since I don't have time to individually have consultations with each and every person, it's not paying me, of course. I decided to create this series of five things to consider, where every video I'm gonna give you five things to consider in terms of building your business. So I decided, since we were going to start, why not start from the beginning, right? Start with building a business, or starting a business, should we say. So we're starting with that you have figured out something that is a demand for that you can supply. Case in point, a best friend of mine, well, my best friend, by the name of Rashawn, we call him Shake, but he just figured out that instead of selling sea moss individually, like a lot of people that I know, that he can create these fruit smoothies where he add the sea moss in there, so people get the nutrients of the sea moss, but it actually tastes good. Because most that know sea moss, if you smell it, it don't smell good, and if you taste it raw, it's probably not going to taste so good for you. So he figured out this demand, and so now it's went from like a hobby to now he's trying to start a business. So when you're starting a business, these are the five things that you first need to consider when you first starting a business. And I would say choosing a name, right? What's the name of your business? So most of us like to use our names, like Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, like for example of that, even though Roscoe is not the one that started it, but I'm giving you an example. But sometimes it's actually better to just choose a more simple name that kind of just tells what your brand is about, and know more specifically what problem you solve. Shake his pearly necklace sea moss, you know what I mean? So it's a combination of names is relative to his family, but by putting the sea moss in there, you know exactly what you're getting from him. So again, choosing a name is a name that represents best who you are, what your brand is about, more importantly, what problem you solve, right? So now that we have the name, right, we got to figure out what visually represents that name. So it's basically getting to a logo. So that's the second thing. So the first thing is choosing a name. Second thing is a logo. Now, in terms of the logo, it's like you're having to figure out what color represents your brand, what symbolism, like a bird or fire, whatever it is that you want, or design, symbolism or design that represents your brand, so that it can become together in the logo. Again, you have to pay a graphic designer to do a logo, so you can actually get them to consult you, or you can actually sit down with me in a consultation and I kind of help you decide the direction of a logo. So first thing is the choosing the name. Second thing is the visual representation, which is the logo. Third thing would be a domain name, right? So that's why it's important, again, to make sure the name is more clear of the brand, so that when you get in the website, again, Roscoe'sChickenandWaffles.com. Well, people know Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle, but imagine trying to even, because I'm actually going to reason with Shake about this. I'm doing this video, but it'll be harder for you to remember Pearly Necklace Sea Moss, which again, if you keep branding it, people will know, versus just saying um, gethealthy.com, and I'm just using that as that URL. I'm pretty sure is already taken, but health is some way. I mean, I'm just throwing off the top of my brain, but it'll be easier if you can create a name in the beginning when you're choosing a name that's more identifiable, so that now when you're making the website can basically just be the name of your brand. So, for example, I Heart Reggae, as I'm bringing this up. So again, getting to the name, I was trying to figure out the name of the brand. The name of the brand was I Heart Reggae, and then I tried to figure out what visually represents I Heart Reggae. This is the visual representing of the logo. And then we go to the website, when the website is iHeartReggaeMusic.com. I wanted iHeartReggae.com, but somebody had already had it. But again, it's like lining up iHeartReggaeMusic.com. So that's number three, the domain name. And then number 4, the domain name, same as the name. So now you go into the social media. So these are the 4th thing to consider is the social media handle. So again, where I started with the name, because you want to hope that the name aligns with the social media handle. So if you go again, if I'm just using iHeartReggae, if you search us up, we're underscore iHeartReggae on all the social media platforms. Because again, it was so popular that people had. And that's another thing when thinking, your name. Try to use things that still represents to say what you are, but not as popular, so that you can have the social media handles. But again, if the social media handles are taken, it's figuring out a way where you can universally still brand whatever it is. So it's underscore iHeartReggae on all the social media. So that's number 4, the social media handles. Number 5 on the 5 things to consider list when you're first starting your business, which is really the brand identity. So I should make this episode about starting a business, and you have to start with brand identity. So number 5 is making sure the logo that I talked to you about, that you have files in PNG form, which is no background, and you have the PSD file, which is the actual Photoshop file, and if possible, get the AI file, which is the Adobe Illustrator file that is used for like clothing and things like that. So just in case that you, God forbid, the developer moves out of town or something, you have no way, he loses phone or something, that you don't be stuck with just a JPEG file that you cannot use beyond just posting on social media. So again, I'm gonna do a recap of episode number 1 of 5 things to consider business branding marketing tips with the Rastapreneur. This episode is called the brand identity. So when we're starting a business, we want to first focus on our brand identity. And the first thing in a brand identity is choosing a name. Number 2 is deciding on the things that go into your logo. Number 3 is the domain name. Number 4, social media handles. And number 5 is making sure you have access to the files of your logo, to that you can use it and put it on anything that it is you want to use moving forward. And in addition to that, I would even actually try to encourage you to get some type of writing to say that you actually own the logo if you pay for it, even if you have to pay a little bit more, because some people like to get the cheap way, and I get it, because we're starting a business, you're trying to get it as cheap as possible, but sometimes it's a little bit sometimes I advise you to pay a little bit more to gain ownership of your things, so that moving forward, if you want to do merchandise or something like this, you don't have to now go into a battle with the graphic designer about ownership of the art. So yeah, man. So that's really it. Number 5 will be ownership of the art, ownership of the file. So hope that this episode number 1 was very valuable for ones. Episode number 2, figure out where we'll go from there. This is starting the brand identity, and we're starting the brand identity. Maybe I'll just started part 2 of brand identity or something like that, because what I'm thinking is, after you have the logo and you have all this stuff in order, you actually need to start focusing on building the website. So maybe that's episode number 2, 5 things to consider when building your website. I think so, we'll go there. So with that being said, again, I hope I'm providing value to somebody that have questions. Some of you already know this, because again, this is like step 1 when you're starting a business. This is brand identity. But again, 5 things to consider with the 5 things to consider business branding and marketing tips with the Rastapreneur. Episode number 1. This is brand identity. Number 1, choosing a name. Number 2 is logo. Number 3 is the website. Number 4 is your social media handles. Number 5 is ownership of your artwork, meaning your logo, and having the correct files that you need to move forward. So, until episode number 2, as I always say in closing, I use the hashtag spread love like a virus. Even if you don't use the hashtag, I want to encourage you to live your life that way. Yeah, man. You start by being a blessing to somebody today, and then make a routine out of that. So, with that being said, the Rastapreneur is out. Rastafari love and blessings to each and every one of you. Rastafari.